20 years, 76 starts, 12 podiums, 5 second place finishes. A crash that threw me 900 feet down the side of a mountain in 2010 in front of a television helicopter. A virus that put me in a hospital bed in the middle of the 2023 TT. A withdrawal in 2024 that I never fully explained to anyone, not even the team I'd ridden for 8 years. And after all of it, right up to today, I have never once won a race at the Isle of Man TT. I've done every other step apart from the top one, and that's the one I'm going for. That's what I told the BBC once. It's still true, every word of it. A rival of mine, David Johnson, once said something about me that I think about more than he probably realised at the time. I look at Conor and I see him riding unbelievably well. Unbelievably well. For 20 years on some of the fastest laps this course has ever seen, and still no win. This isn't a story about a rider who wasn't fast enough to win. It starts somewhere much stranger than that. It starts with a name my own parents gave me. I was born in Douglas, Isle of Man in May 1986 during TT practice week itself. My dad, Billy, had already raced 3 Manx Grand Prix and 1 TT of his own by then. Racing wasn't something I discovered later on. It was just there in the air before I could even walk properly. We lived by Milntown Jump, where riders launch into the air at full speed coming into Ramsey. The first bike through in early morning practice was my alarm. I'd jump out of bed and leg it up to the course just to watch. Waking up to see all my heroes go flying by was quite something, honestly. I've got absolutely awesome memories from that. Me and my mates used to bomb around our estate on our bicycles, thinking we were Joey Dunlop or Philip McCallan. Here's a detail almost nobody knows about me. My parents named me after a rider called Conor McGinn, an Irish racer who was left in a wheelchair after a spinal injury on the roads. That was the name they chose for their son, in a house that lived and breathed this sport every single day. It tells you something about what everyone around me already understood long before I was old enough to ride anything myself. In 2004, I had a bad crash at Alton Park on the short circuits, breaking my ankle. It changed everything about my direction. The more I raced, I realised it was time to switch over to pure roads, and it's a decision I've not regretted once since making it. 2 years later, in 2006, at 20 years old, I made my TT debut, 17th place in the senior race. The Newcomers Trophy, my first taste of this place. Nobody could have known that year how close the name I'd been given would eventually come to meaning something else entirely, on a road not far from where I grew up watching those early morning laps. 2009, my first real taste of the podium, third in the second Supersport race, and then second in the senior TT itself, 19 seconds behind the record-breaking winner Steve Plater. I was 23 years old, and I finally belonged up there with the front runners. 2010, third place in the Superstock TT. Then the senior race, run over the same weekend. The crowd had already seen my good friend Guy Martin come off heavily, forcing a restart earlier in the day. Second lap, I just set an opening lap of 131.123 miles an hour on the restart. Third place, just over 2 seconds off the lead. I was closing the gap at the Veranda, one of the fastest, most exposed sections on the entire mountain course, pushing exactly as hard as I needed to. The bike stepped out from under me. I cartwheeled over and over. Bike and rider spinning through the air like a turquoise and pink frisbee off the edge of the course over a 5-foot stone wall, coming to rest more than 900 feet from where I'd left the road. A television helicopter following the race caught the entire thing on camera, frame by frame. 10 miles down the course, at the finish line grandstand, my parents were listening for my time at the next checkpoint. My name never came up. They knew before anyone actually told them anything that my race was over. It's what they didn't know yet, sitting there in that grandstand, that made the whole thing unbearable. My mum, Carol, works at a bank in Douglas. Her commute takes her past the Veranda every single day, twice a day, without fail. 2 months after the crash, she pulled the car over on that same drive. She got out and walked to the exact spot. The black streak of rubber from my bike hadn't washed off the road yet. The reflective curb marker was still cracked and chipped from where the bike hit it. I broke my arm, 5 vertebrae in my back, dislocated my knee, tore ligaments through the whole joint, bruised a lung, and hairline fractured my pelvis. I spent close to 2 months in hospital in total, then more time afterward in a hyperbaric chamber. trying to force my body to start working properly again. It was an out-of-body experience. The most difficult lap I ever rode was the first lap I did after it, so after that it's just another couple of corners, same as any other part of the course. If it means blood, sweat and tears, I don't mind. It's got to be done, hasn't it? Less than 9 months later, against most people's expectations and against what my own body had told me in that hospital bed, I was back on the grid, ready to do it all again. 2014, Honda UK signed me for that year's TT, 4 years after Veranda, when a lot of people had quietly written me off. Second in the senior, behind Michael Dunlop. My first superbike class podium since the crash. That was massive. The first sniff at getting back to where I felt I belonged, although I wasn't taking anything for granted by any stretch. Honda believed in me, and I'd been dicing with Michael on the BMW all week, so I felt right, we're back on track now. 2018 brought more of the same. Podiums in both the superbike and senior races. 2019 senior TT, I finished second again, just 14 seconds behind Dunlop. My good mate Guy Martin was third that day, 9.5 seconds behind me. On a circuit that's unforgiving, that's not a rider who's lost his nerve after a crash like mine. That's a rider running with the very best in the world, lap after lap, year after year. 2022, second in the Superstock TT, third in the senior. And on that Superstock lap, I broke the 133 mile an hour barrier for the first time in my career, riding a showroom spec Honda Fireblade on road tyres, not even the full factory superbike. That put me fourth on the all-time list around this mountain course, jumping up from sixth overnight. Fourth fastest human being ever to lap this place on a bike. Most people could genuinely walk into a dealership and buy off the showroom floor. No special parts, nothing exotic about it at all. There's no doubt I have the speed to win a TT when the stars finally align for me. Since then, other riders have gone faster still. The way this sport always keeps moving forward, whether you're ready for it or not. I've slipped back down that same all-time list. Some days it honestly feels like the sport is moving forward without me in it, lap record by lap record. 12 TT podiums across my career so far, 5 of them second place finishes, close enough to touch the top step, close enough to taste it. Second in 09, second in 14, second in 19. The same word over and over at the biggest race weekend of my life, every single time. I've done every other step apart from the top one, and that's the one I'm going for. That sentence isn't complaining, it's just true. There's no feeling like standing on that podium at this event, none at all in this whole sport. I've done every other step there is. Every single one of them across 20 years of trying, except the very last one, the only one that actually counts to me. 2023, I went into that TT chasing the win, same as always, same as every year before it. My body had other ideas entirely. A virus took hold of me during practice week, bad enough that I ended up in hospital, missing half my track time before the racing had even properly started. The illness was a real kick in the bollocks because my whole year is built around the TT. Everything I do, all the training, all the winter work, it all points to this one fortnight. My team boss at Paget's, Clive, said something afterward that I still think about often. I'm not sure people realise just how poorly Conor was, so for him to finish fourth in the senior was nothing short of a miracle. Fourth place, with a body that could barely get through practice week without collapsing. That's not a result I'm particularly proud of, if I'm honest with you. But it's not nothing either, not after what my body had just been through. 2024, I signed with Paget's for an 8th straight year, my longest run with any single team. I know what I want to do, and that's win. I told the press that February, full of confidence, heading into the season. Then practice week arrived, and everything fell apart at once. I retired from the opening Supersport race. I retired from the Superbike race straight after. 8th place, distant and disappointing in the Superstock. I withdrew from the rest of that TT with immediate effect. I never explained why properly, not then, and honestly not fully to this day either. I'd like to thank all my sponsors and family for their continued support and wish my fellow competitors the best for the remainder of the TT. That's the entire statement I gave at the time. Paget's wished me well for the future in a statement of their own that same week. It read like a goodbye, if I'm being honest about how it landed. Retirement rumours started almost immediately across the whole island. I didn't retire. I raced Armoy that same summer for a different team entirely. I raced the Manx Grand Prix on classic machinery not long after that. I never actually stopped, not once, no matter what people assumed. 2026, a new deal with Batham's AJN Racing, linking up with 7-time TT winner Michael Rutter's team, nearly 20 years since that 17th place finish as a nervous newcomer. Still chasing the exact same thing I was chasing back then on that very first lap. So that's the whole of it. 20 years, 76 starts, 12 podiums, 5 second place finishes. A crash that should have ended everything at Veranda, in front of a television helicopter and my own parents waiting at the finish line grandstand. A virus that put me in a hospital bed in the middle of the TT. A withdrawal in 2024 I never fully explained that had half the island convinced I was finished for good. None of it stopped me. None of it has, not yet, not permanently. I was named after a man who never walked again because of this sport before I'd even taken my first breath. I spent 20 years walking straight back into that same sport. Every single time it knocked me down flat. My rival David Johnson once said he looks at me and sees a rider going unbelievably well. He's not wrong about that. I've beaten some of the best riders alive on this course more than once on some of the fastest laps this mountain has ever recorded in its history. I've just never once crossed that finish line first, not in 20 years of trying. 12 podiums, 5 second place finishes, 0 wins. That's the honest tally. And I'm not going to dress it up as anything other than exactly what it actually is. I've done every other step apart from the top one, and that's the one I'm going for. 20 years in, that sentence is still true. It's the only line in this whole story that hasn't changed once, not since the day I first said it.